Welcome aboard. I'm Ted Everingham, and this is Great Lakes Log from WMTV at the Grosse Pointe War Memorial. It's that time of year again. Each year about this time, we talk about the Detroit Regional Yacht Racing Association's seminar series during the winter months, and they're January through March. And don't be scared about yacht racing. These appeal to more people than you can imagine, and especially this year. Mickey Bennett is back, the immediate past Commodore of the Detroit Regional Yacht Racing Association, or DRYA.
Correct.
Are you feeling relaxed?
Very much so.
The past is an important part of your title.
Yeah, well, it was a great year. It was a great year overall.
Well, that's good. Mickey, you and I have been talking about these seminars for a long time, and each year I say, gosh, this is better than it's ever been before. This really is. And is it my imagination, or is overall, is this series one that has a more universal appeal?
Yes, Ted. First, I want to thank you and everyone here at WMTV for having us and helping us promote these seminars. And every year we try to improve and raise the bar. And this year we have gone a little bit further. Every year we would try to help the individual sailor and his crew or her crew be better sailors on their boat or their friend's boat, more efficient, faster sailors. This year, we're going to take our audience literally to the ends of the earth. As your viewers will see, our program takes us from the North Pole and around the world.
Wow, it's pretty impressive. I've had a preview here. Before we go further, we should mention that we're going to cover a lot of territory around the world in a short period of time, but there are full descriptions of each of these seminars with dates, times, and locations at drya.org.
Correct.
Right?
And also we'll be posting on our group Facebook page, the DRYA Facebook page. All this information will be there, and we have it set up as events. So if your viewers wish to join the DRYA Facebook page, just have them go to Facebook, request to be a member, we'll make them a member.
It's not 1955 anymore.
No, sir.
Yeah. Now, each of these is a Wednesday night, and they're all from 7 till 9-ish.
Correct.
And the venue varies.
Correct.
And all of that information is online.
Yes, they're at a yacht club in the area, literally from Lake Erie to Lake Huron, and all that information is available.
And so they start soon, January 6th.
January 6th is the first one at Grosse Pointe Yacht Club. And this one is going to be one of the more amazing. We're having the grand finale first, in a way. We have Captain Phil Clintworth of the United States Navy, who commanded the U.S. Navy submarine base at San Diego among one of his assignments. But what he's going to talk about is being the commanding officer of the nuclear submarine USS Tautog. That was the first American submarine to go to the North Pole and surface. And they did it along with the USS Aspro. It was the two submarines, and he was in command of the mission. He was in tactical command. I've seen his presentation, and it is incredible, and it's inspiring to see what our Navy was able to do. If you can imagine, this was the fall and winter of 1982.
Wow.
At the height of the Cold War.
Yeah.
And we wanted to be able to operate at the North Pole because of, the issues, the tensions we had with the Soviet Union at the time. And to just imagine navigating, that's one aspect. But determining the thickness of the ice, How deep is that ice? How deep do we have to go? How deep can we go? Just an incredible presentation. And Captain Clintworth is a dynamic speaker, and his slides and his entire presentation is just inspiring.
Now, January 6th, though, is a double feature.
Yes, sir.
Not only go to the North Pole with a submarine,
But we get to go to the North Pole in an icebreaker. And we get to go to the North Pole and the South Pole. This is with Commander Mike Powers of the U.S. Coast Guard, retired. Also, he's a gentleman I've met on a number of occasions. Also, an incredibly inspiring man. And he was an officer on the U.S. Coast Guard vessel Polar Sea that became the first United States surface ship to reach the North Pole in what was the first major scientific crossing of the Arctic Ocean. Then, following that expedition, the Polar Sea deployed to McMurdo Sound in Antarctica.
wow.
And the struggles of keeping the sea lanes open for research vessels. Maybe your viewers may or may not know, but one of the most powerful telescopes is in Antarctica for studying the universe because of the clarity of the air. And you have to get supplies and people in and out, and the icebreakers do that job.
Those are fascinating, both of those. What an opener.
Yeah.
What an opener.
Yeah. Well, Captain Powers will be reprising his presentation later on. We will get to that.
We'll get to that in March, but we're only through the first evening. January 13th is next.
Yes. And we've talked about sailing to the ends of the earth. Here we have the chef, Andre Jourdain of Bayview Yacht Club, will talk to us about provisioning our vessels. And Chef is an incredible person when it comes to food. We can see him out in the parking lot of Bayview barbecuing burgers and chicken and steak, and then he can make a gourmet meal for 200 people that you sit there and think, this meal was prepared special for me.
Right. He's remarkable, yeah.
Yes, and he's accustomed to working in small spaces. Bayview's kitchen is very small and not cutting edge, not leading edge by today's standards. So he's going to talk to us about provisioning in our boats with smaller galleys and how we can use the cryovac food packaging system to freeze our foods so that they don't lose taste and that they will hold for a while we're out on a cruise, because not every boat has freezer capability. So having the cryovac system, we can have delicious meals all through our cruise. And he will give us a little demonstration, and he is just a delightful and charming person.
He's a remarkable man.
Yes,
yeah,
he really is.
Very friendly and,
Yes.
and approachable. One of my first loves is shorthanded sailing. We've done some stories here about shorthanded sailing, and you're featuring that in January as well.
Yes, this is another incredibly accomplished person. This is Bill Tucker, who also has nuclear submarine experience. And he was studied at the Navy Nuclear Power School and Submarine School, after which he served on the nuclear sub Sea Dragon. And in 1975, he decided he wanted to learn how to sail. So he bought a book and a boat, took them both out at the same time, and has been sailing ever since. And he has done some incredible single-handed passages. The one that really has me is he's done the Supermac, which will go either from Chicago right through the Straits of Mackinac back down to Port Huron, or the other way around. Then he even did that one better by single-handing all the way from Chicago to Buffalo at the eastern end of Lake Erie. And he's also sailed the ocean. He's done the Bermuda 1-2. And he will talk about how you set up a boat for single handing, talking about autopilots, wind vanes, deck layout, safety features, how your sleep regime, and that brings you into how does one set oneself up mentally and physically
right.
to do these kinds of adventures.
That'll be fun. Bill will do a good job with that. Tell me about the February 3rd one. I've always thought it would be great to be a Great Lakes captain.
Well, Captain Ken Sudik is more than just Great Lakes. He has ocean experience, and he teaches the captain's course. And most of us who have sailed have done boat deliveries of one sort or another where they aren't necessarily pleasure cruises. It's the idea to get a boat from point A to point B so that the pleasure can take over. And when one wants to be hired to do that, if that's your profession, then you need the certification.
You need a license.
You need a license. And Ken has a license, and he teaches the course, and he'll discuss what it takes to become a licensed U.S. Coast Guard captain. You won't be in the Coast Guard, but you will have that licensing. You'll learn everything you need to know. And he will also talk about his experiences of delivering everything up to and including a 150-foot mega yacht.
Wow. Well, I hope, don't worry if you're on the water, I'm not going to become a captain, but I'm fascinated by the process.
Yes, it's a matter of some very intensive study, and Captain Sudik will go through it, but most of the course has to do with the law of the sea, maritime law. And the boat handling, the actual boat handling and crew work is handled by your sea time requirements in order to get a license.
But you got to know the rules.
But you got to know the rules and the responsibilities.
And you know, as a recreational boater, it wouldn't help to know what some of those rules are anyway.
Absolutely.
Because I'm afraid that many don't.
Yes.
Don't touch that one.
Yeah.
Buying and selling boats. This is a fascinating one to me because people think when I go out and buy a boat, it's like going and buying a car, and it's not that simple.
No.
You got to buy the boat, you got to insure the boat, you got to store the boat somewhere, you've got to get a surveyor to look at the boat and make sure that it's seaworthy and all of those. You're bringing all that to the table in one night.
Yes. And the world of the internet, when you're buying and selling on the internet, you don't get to see it, touch it, feel it, hear it. And that creates a whole set of problems all by itself. So the people that you are going to help you through the process need to be very trusted people. And the people that will be talking, Bob Reed has been around forever.
Yeah.
I know him personally.
As do
He is one of the finest people around, one of the most successful boat brokers around. And his personal philosophy is keep it fun, but you've got to have the backside help in surveying the boat, making sure that what you're buying is not only seaworthy, but that you know what any potential problems are, any weaknesses, any deficiencies are before you actually purchase the boat.
And for people who've not been through the purchase of a boat, the marine surveyor who inspects the boat and tells you about all those things is analogous to the guy who comes and inspects the house that you may be buying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
what are the red flags?
And in many cases, Chris Van Tol, who is in the marine insurance business, many times you can't get insurance without a survey. And you can't get insurance without any serious issues corrected before they will actually issue the policy. So the Mormon Marine surveyors, Jack and Matt Mormon, do it very high tech, and they also are very highly trusted people in the industry. and Chris and Bill Grambo of the Great Lakes National Marine Financing is also very trusted, because now you're making a purchase.
Might need money.
Yeah.
Might need money.
You need to have financing. So all of this needs to be woven together, because this is, I like to talk about sailing as the toy department of our lives. But there are serious aspects to it. You need a trusted person to help you purchase it, then to survey it and inspect it and find out what any problems are, if any. You need to have someone finance it. You need to have someone insure it. Then you can go out and have the fun.
Well, and these are all people who've been in this business a long time, been sailing, they're hands-on folks. They know their stuff. That's a neat program. That's the Yacht Club as well, February 10th.
Yes, yes, correct.
On to the 24th of February. This is a fascinating one too.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We are going to have Chris Cochran of Far Yacht Designs, based out of Annapolis, Maryland, come and talk about his input into the design of a new sport boat, the Far 280. Chris is a local guy. He was raised here. He sailed on his family's boat, XS, and he's raced DRYA and Mackinac races. He was taught marine architecture, naval architecture at the University of Michigan, and is involved now in designing these boats. And the interesting thing about the Far 280 is possibly the fastest growing area of sailboat racing is in the sport boat arena, from 20 to 30 feet. They're light, they're lightning quick, they're light boats, they plane, they're exciting, and the best part about them is they can be trailered and take them all around the country, take them to Florida, take them to the East Coast, all around the Great Lakes. And because of this ease of taking them wherever the regatta might be, and how exciting they are to sail, this is a tremendous growth area in our sport.
And it is indeed. And Chris is, young man, University of Michigan, a couple of degrees in marine architecture and engineering, local guy, knows these waters, and he was actually involved in the design and production of this very boat that you're talking about.
Right. These are, I don't know necessarily if high tech is the word for them, but they use high tech materials. They use all these advanced processes in the construction and the manufacture of the boats. And having sailed a couple of sport boats myself, it is just hair on fire exciting to sail these things.
It'd be kind of neat to kind of look behind the curtain and see what goes on in the design of
right.
boats.
How you just tweak them that little bit more to get a leg up on the other guy.
Now, I'm a navigator. That's what I do on sailboats, and talk about rules a little bit with people driving the boat. And March 9, you're devoting to kind of the old guys and the new guys form of navigation.
Yeah, this is another one where we kind of touch on going far afield. Chris Beeler, who is currently I believe he's the treasurer of DRYA, but he has been sailing and diving and fishing around the Great Lakes and other places for the last 40 years. And his career path was IT, was technology, and he did all kinds of things right when technology was launching, including working on telephone systems, nuclear missile defense systems, and working on computer systems and networks. And he's going to talk about the advances in electronic navigation, where we don't just use an old Loran set or a GPS, where I've actually navigated using my iPhone, using Navionics as an app. I've also navigated with a tablet. out in the cockpit where you just can pass it around and show everybody. And now these are working Wi-Fi inside the boat so that you have your base station down at the nav table, and you have tablets and iPhones, and you can know where you are all the time using the GPS system. And he's going to talk about that and how that interrelates.
But if all that fails, back to traditional navigation. That's the second half of this evening.
You grab your sextant.
Yeah.
When the juice stops flowing, you always have the sextant and the sun or the stars. And Hank Denoff, who is a graduate of the Lawrence Tech University and a retired electrical engineer, he worked for the Chrysler Missile Division and General Dynamics in the tanks. So we're talking about another highly skilled, highly educated man. And he's going to talk to us, taking us back to the Polynesian star charts or sky charts, where they took different kinds of wood or whatever materials they had, built a chart of the sky. And I've seen those hanging in museums. And then take us right through how, as we here in the West, in Western culture, would go through paper charts or different kinds of charts doing latitude sailing, and then how we found longitude, and then we could get an astrolabe, and now we have a sextant, and he's going to give us a primer on all of this so that if we just educate ourselves a little bit, we can't be truly lost, although we might not know precisely where we are.
But we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah. I want to hurry along a little
Sure.
bit because there are a reprise of one of the programs you talked about earlier, but there are two other real showstoppers. March 16th, North Cape Yacht Club down in LaSalle, the Brig Niagara.
The Brig Niagara is the relief flagship of Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry in the Battle of Lake Erie in the War of 1812. And many of us know about Schooner Wharf in Key West. We know about Newport and Mystic and San Francisco and San Diego, where there's tall ships and museum ships. Not a lot of us realize we have one right here in the Great Lakes, based out of Erie, Pennsylvania. And they travel around the Great Lakes. They're a traveling museum ship. And they also do training.
It's a school, a sailing school vessel.
And you can get aboard and actually work the ship. You can climb the rigging, you can haul on a line, and
you climb the rigging, I'll haul on the line. Yeah. So who's here to talk about this?
That is the operations officer, Joe Lengiza.
And he's going to be there to talk about Niagara.
He is going to come from Erie, Pennsylvania, and talk about Niagara, show videos, and talk about the different opportunities of actually sailing this vessel.
It's a beautiful vessel. I've seen her, as you have.
Yes.
And that'll be an exciting time. That same evening, you're going to reprise the icebreaker trip to the Arctic and the Antarctic.
Yes. Commander Mike Powers will do the second half. So we had kind of the over and the under in the first one of the polar ice caps. Now we're going to have, going back to the early 19th century to the latter part of the 20th century missions.
All in the same evening.
All in the same
All
evening.
At North Cape Yacht Club. And good people down there. It's great that you're taking the show on the road. I think that's wonderful.
Absolutely. That's something we think is very important.
It is.
And one of the things is, for anybody who wants to attend, the North Cape Junior program has a wonderful buffet meal, and all the proceeds go to the junior program to help the kids sail next summer.
And doing good by doing well, or doing well by doing good, one or the other. And then you wrap this whole thing up at Port Huron Yacht Club, kind of toward the other end of the DRYA's geographic spectrum. What happens there?
Chris Stevens, who is with the Coast Guard Auxiliary and as a commander and an instructor, will talk about what happens in the eventuality that we need a helicopter rescue, either for an ailing or injured crewman, or in an emergency where our vessel is lost. And it's kind of the unthinkable, so we don't think about it. But he will come and talk to us about how to communicate with the Coast Guard. And in the event that you have to have a helicopter rescue, how you go about preparing yourself and the vessel and what you need to do for when the Coast Guard comes out there to help them help you. That they have only certain things that they can do from the air. And how do they drop the basket? Do they drop a rescue swimmer? What's the nature of the injury or the illness? Is the person capable of being evacuated by a helicopter rescue? What really are the needs? And he will go over all of this, including what the person in charge needs to know.
And there's quite a bit, really. A lot of it's common sense, but the person on the deck of that boat in trouble doesn't think about the problems being encountered by the crew in the helicopter above. We've done a couple of shows, one on a rescue and during one of the Mackinac races, and we were out at Selfridge with our cameras to do that. We talked about the rescue when they took Dr. Rob Amsler off a boat in the Caribbean, took him to Cuba, as a matter of fact, to the Naval Air Station there for treatment. There's a lot involved.
And there's a tremendous amount involved. And we were talking about this Saturday night, and someone mentioned that one of the things they ask you to do is not stop the vessel.
Yep.
That you keep it moving, that the Coast Guard doesn't want, the helicopter pilot doesn't want to necessarily hover. He wants to have some forward
track
progress.
with you, right.
And then you get into the situation, depending on the sea state, if the boat is rising 10 or 15 feet or more, but here in the Great Lakes, you could be in a situation that mast is going up 10 or 15 feet, and the pilot has to know, how big is your rig? What altitude do I have to maintain for safety? And then that basket has to come down. It's a big operation. It isn't, they make it look easy, but it's anything but.
These people, the men and women who are in those rescue teams for the Coast Guard, are geniuses. They're just real heroes to me. They have ice water in their veins. They do their job so well. I'm so glad that you're recognizing that in this program.
They are truly the best of the best.
It's a great way to end this series. Thank you so much. Every Wednesday from January 6th through the 23rd of March at some location at 7 p.m. there will be one of these seminars. They're all free.
All free.
They're all free. Food and beverage available at some of the locations. Get all of that information by going online and clicking on the Winter Seminar Series. Mickey, thank you again for being with us. It's always fun talking with you. We're good friends off camera as well. It's just nice to have you here. I wish you great success with this series.
Thank you, Ted.
I'll be seeing you some Wednesday nights.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Hope to see some of you there too, and back here on Great Lakes Log.